At the end of the
Hmm.
day, nobody cares about your brand until they decide to care for it.
That's fair.
And if you haven't pushed anything that has made that person feel something, then you have to keep testing.
Most brands running Meta ads right now are testing the wrong thing.
Yeah, they're obsessing over audiences, over placements, over bidding strategy. But Meta's own data shows that up to 80% of campaign performance comes down to one thing: the creative itself.
So here's Josh, what sounds like the problem is, and what we're seeing too. Most businesses are running into the exact same two, three, four different formats they're running back in 2021 or even 2024. And people that say that I've got 5 years of running ads on Meta experience, great. You've seen those generations, but the clear ones right now are different. And the platform is completely different. So with that, I'm Joe.
And I'm Josh, and we're two marketing leaders who have spent a combined decade running paid campaigns and building funnels for companies across multiple industries.
Now, this is After the Click. And today we're getting into what meta creatives actually work right now, what happens on the platform, and what you need to do next, and what we think as two marketing leaders that have been doing this for quite a while in the industry. So, with that being said, let's dive right into it.
Let's get
Josh,
it.
so happy to have you on this. Actually, for viewers, this is the first episode we've got together. One of many, many, many we got cooking in the pipeline, right?
Yes.
I love it. And when listening in, Josh and I have worked together. We've worked on a number of projects, inside, outside work, and all about it. And we've discussed and said, let's keep our conversations going because a lot of stuff we're talking about, people are asking about, and we kind of have different mindsets on how this stuff works. But I really appreciate Josh's mindset on things. And I think this meta topic here is a huge one because he's, in my opinion, like the golden kingpin of unique creatives and just setting up the back end. A thing where it's screwed up so many times. How many times we've seen it where people have it improperly formatted? Having the right eye on it is key. So, Josh, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to talk about meta ads because meta ads is something that I think keeps me up at night. And Joe, I
Hmm.
mean, we had a very long stint working together and running these meta ads and trying to understand what's the best way to scale ads. And I think every single time that we came up with an issue or it's like there was a problem and we solved it was like the next week there was something new. And then the next week and the next week. And then the competitors are launching new ads. And it's like, what's actually happening? And then in the middle of our campaign, AndroMeta or AndroMeta, however you want to pronounce it, comes out. And we're like, dude, every single time that we're trying to implement, we go into a learning phase. And then something new comes out. And then there's a new strategy. And then it's time to kind of, I think, nail down what's been going on and see how we're going to pivot hopefully for this quarter, because nothing lasts forever with Meta.
No, I know. It feels like good marketers are on top of it, and then they ride that wave, and then it becomes all too common, and the audience sees it. I've seen this before, and then you got to readjust. And man, you're right. Every quarter, I feel like, regardless of what changes on Meta, just grabbing attention, all the different steps of grabbing attention and keeping it and converting someone cold or someone warm into whatever type of funnel that you've got going on. So one thing I hear, I'm having a little agenda list, if you will. What type of creatives are working right now? Maybe some cool ones that we've talked about, and we've shared stuff on Slack back and forth, and texting back and forth, and even messaging at 2 in the morning when we can't sleep, sharing on Instagram. Like, dude, did you see this? Or if it caught my attention as a marketer, you better believe I'm going to use something like this.
No, for
We're
sure.
going to
I
talk
think
about what's that?
I just want to say it's like that is so important.
Oh, good.
Like sharing that back and forth, just seeing what you're seeing. I know we're gonna dive deep on like we're gonna dive deep into that, but when you see something, it's catered to you and it's not catered to me. And so ads have gotten very specific about who they're going after. And I think that's gonna be a good topic for today.
Oh, I love it. Well said. I agree. And what other piece we have here? What Meta has done in the last year, 2 years, what significantly has changed, thinking about just media buying in general for a lot of marketers out there, and where we think it's going, not just creatives in general, but I guess, as a platform, how they're using it and how they're making money and how they're growing and acquiring new leads, et cetera. Do they need to acquire another company to keep up with all the new eyeballs coming in? The attention that's going to other apps like TikTok and others, right? Is there potential acquisition out there? Who's on Facebook anymore other than like neighborhood moms? Not many, but Instagram is still hot, right? But is it as
Real
hot as the,
world.
the TikTok and all the other ones out there? Who knows if there'll be another like Snapchat or Vine 2.0 or something? Who knows, right? So let's hop into it, right? Ad creatives that are working right now. And I think something that came up to me that I really saw at high volume, and I think it's a Dan Kennedy line too. He who wins in paid marketing campaigns is who has the most amount of money in a certain style of ad, if you will. It gets the most attention of it. And I know a lot of Russell Brunson stuff too, where he talks about just copy what someone else is doing. However, my thoughts on that are, and we talked about this, Josh, in the past, how like you could create something duplicate. If you're not spending the same amount of money to acquire that customer, you're just falling right to the bottom. It doesn't matter if you got someone could have a winning ad set, like a crazy winning ad set, and is spending 500 times more than you. If you're not even remotely in that realm, you're not going to expect the same results. It's just not going to happen. You have to think outside the box.
Big time. And I think we're seeing this happen even more now. Back in the day, I think whenever I first got into this marketing world, I could get just about any e-commerce brand, kind of like a mom and pop. Like we're starting off, like we're gonna sell XYZ product and we're gonna open a Shopify store and we're gonna get thousands of shoppers. They did for a very cheap rate. I mean, getting like a 10x, 20x ROAS was kind of easy because the media buying magic kind of did its thing and all that. But now it's kind of impossible. I mean, if you are, let's say, a competitor to Bloom, for
Mhm.
anybody that's out there that doesn't know what Bloom is, they have sodas, they have supplements, they have all these different things. They're kind of like a go-to for like your Pilates princess. So it's a great niche to be in if you're in e-commerce because they buy and they buy impulsively. So if you're promoting your energy drink, right,
Mhm.
to this Pilates princess that's about to go, and she doesn't drink Red Bull, she doesn't drink Monster. She says Celsius is too much, but Bloom is a perfect packaging, right? She gets an Instagram story with a UGC creator or even an influencer that says like I drink Bloom before every workout. That person back at home is going to say, that is me. That's what I want. And Bloom is going to target that girl 5 to 10 different times. Now imagine that Joe and I decided to create a Bloom competitor.
Sure.
We're only going to be able to show our ad to that one person once for every time that Blue shows them 10 different times. And they're
Oh yeah.
testing so much creative. So at this point, like you mentioned, Joe, if you don't have the money, you're in a really tough spot where something's going to have to give. And you're going to have to think outside of the box and you can't copy your competitors anymore. You're going to have to be very unique in either your product or your messaging.
Yeah. It's especially the Me Too look of what's working for others. And I think in some creatives, it works well, copy the methodology of how they do it.
Mhm.
Others, it's, I've seen this before, no, without even knowing what it is. And I forget what it was, the app that we were using. I think you drove me onto it, of that looked at all kinds of other creatives and
That
mapped it out. What
was
was that one called?
that was Parker.ai, I believe.
Yeah, that was great. It was, what did we learn? We were able to see where the competitors were spending so much money, created stuff that was unique to it, like matched it, but then realized we were spending 1/1000th of these huge VC backed companies that
Yeah.
were just pumping it out there. Couldn't compete.
We couldn't compete, but I think that's if I could add something to this conversation is that I think with this latest like AndroMeta update, Meta is kind of helping the smaller guys succeed. And if you're not in the trenches, if you're not in the weeds, you might not necessarily see it. But as I'm running ads for like these e-commerce brands, I look around and I'm like, okay, there's competitors that are just have great Instagram pages, right? They probably have like 100,000 followers. They're creating great partnerships with influencers, and some of them are even higher in the higher end, and they just have that luxury feeling brand that you're just like, okay, these people you respect them. But now with Andromeda's update, you can just create as much creative as possible, make it as different as possible, and Meta is going to find an audience that resonates with your brand and with your messaging. Now, it takes a lot of creative iterations, and I think it takes a lot of different angles, and it takes a lot of different ways of positioning your brand. I think it's almost going to make you feel uncomfortable the way that you position your brand, because you might not have ever considered that people are open to your brand if you talk about it a bit differently. And I think that's what happens a lot of the times when people are working in internal teams. You develop some type of feeling about your own brand, and it's very hard to take those glasses off because you have a vision. You have a vision of who you
Of
are,
course.
who you serve. But if you expand those limits, like you're gonna be okay. Like I think the perfect example. I was watching this YouTube video, and I forget the creator, but he's an incredible media buyer, and he was pretty much showing what Yeti was doing. And if you go through Yeti's library, like you're going to see that while they are promoting the same product, the same blue Yeti can be positioned in so many different ways.
Oh, totally.
From a dad grilling, from a couple of guys going out fishing, from a girl like taking her Yeti out for like to walk her dog. Like you position this Yeti to so many different lifestyles. While maybe if you were a little bit close minded and you worked at Yeti, you're like, no, well, Yeti's for people that like the outdoors.
Sure, sure.
And it's, whoa, your brand actually expands way outside of that. You just have to be open to it. So I think, like, long story short, I think if you actually are okay with making yourself be open to who would be open to your brand, you can find success. And I think that's where the smaller guys can actually compete.
I like that. That's well said. There's behind every brand has to be an emotional feel that you have. And I think Yeti's a perfect example of that, right? How is it making someone feel about a particular product, whether it makes them or encouraged or motivated, or Nike kills this, right? And Apple's arguably one of the best brands out there. They know exactly what to do. But then also comes the point of let's pivot to another type of company where curiosity is a huge one. And I love talking about curiosity. I think I shared this with you before as well too. As simple as a cafe that makes pancakes and breakfast,
Mm.
right? They could just be like, we have pancakes, we make it good. And then I get this one ad of Judy's Pancakes. I think I was showing you where it led into, it looked like she was about to get hit by a car or something. Then she rolled over. She's like, come see Judy's Pancakes. They're so good. And the curiosity was like, how good are these freaking pancakes, man? I have to go. And the backstory of that, I think there's so many companies that are like, I don't know if I want to lean into that. But no, that's not my style. It doesn't sound like me. I'm like this. I'm like, what are you afraid of? Making too much
Yeah.
money. This Judy's Pancake place has they sell out more merch than they do pancakes. It's crazy because people love the content. She just leaned into it. And there's so many examples of that where like the
Tons,
ad has
tons.
nothing to do all with the product or anything. It's just curiosity or just fun. We're like, that's cool. I can get down with that. They leaned into something that was maybe a little risky, and I dig it.
Yeah, big time. And I think oftentimes what happens, to kind of like go back to what I was saying, I think a lot of brands or a lot of founders or CEOs, whatever, even a freaking manager, they could be like, no, we're not going to test that because I know what I want this brand to be. And it's like, dude, no one cares about your brand. At the end of the
Hmm.
day, nobody cares about your brand until they decide to care for it.
That's fair.
And if you haven't pushed anything that has made that person feel something, then you have to keep testing. I mean, I think it's called Pink's cleaners here in Austin. Cody Sanchez brand. She invested into it. And I'm pretty sure she invested into it because they took window cleaning to a whole different direction. I mean, they made it look retro. They made it look cool. If we can show pictures somewhere in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
screen, um, they made it look cool. They made it look retro. They were hiring guys that looked like they could be almost like TikTok comedians, right? It was kind of like good looking dudes that had charisma. And now they're coming to clean your windows, and people actually started caring for them. And then if you see their social game, you see their ads, you're like, oh, for some reason, I actually care about a window cleaning company. And like they didn't have to do that, but they looked around, they looked at the competition, and there was probably some institutional, like some private equity window cleaners out there that are just like raking in money and running really good Google ads. But Pink said, we're going to do things differently because we want
Mhm.
people to care about us. And it worked.
It's like getting people excited for the experience. They're not even excited about the window cleaning or anything else they do. It's like and showing up or whatever. This is cool. I want to document this. And if you can get
Yep.
someone to do an Instagram story or something and be like, "Oh, look who's here," etc. Oh my gosh, that's gold for that brand of just building awareness throughout, just extending everywhere. Can't go wrong with
100%.
that. Yeah,
100%. So I think when it comes down to like what creative is actually working in Meta right now, this sounds like a cop out answer,
I think I know what you're going to say.
but I think everything works.
That's fair. It's
I think
fair. That's
everything
totally fair.
works as long as you test it because there's going to be an audience for it.
I think the more creative you get and to think the next layer of what type of content's gonna go viral. Like, it hasn't yet. This is a new approach to this, either curiosity or emotion building or whatever. That stuff works. Test all of that, right? Eventually, and like when it does stick, then you're like the top of the game of that, and no one else is copying you yet until they do. Then you got to come up with something else, which is why having a creative specialist or director or multiple of them in a company is so valuable. They're thinking out in space. Yeah, they're out there, right? I would have never thought of something like that. Let's give it a shot. And the more
Yep.
creatives you're able to test and try and work with that align, of course. Hormozy talks about this all the time too. He split tests like an insane amount of different hooks per an insane amount of different like core body of content versus insane amount of different call to action styles, and just it just makes this huge exponential like library of stuff. So yeah, I would agree with you. There's of the all the different. Is there one difference? If there's one specific style that works best, I think that's what most people are looking for, right? They're like, and I hate the clickbait stuff with this. Try this style and it'll work to convert. Look, it may do better than slop in place, or if I don't know, your 11-year-old nephew tried to make something and has never done a Facebook ad before.
Yeah.
Sure, but I can't stand all this YouTube content and like different ads. Try this new framework and it'll work. That's not true. It may be a default decent one, but having a creative mind and then follow a good framework is and having all kinds of new creative over and over. That's what works, not just one specific style. Because then you're going to end up spending all this money on lead magnets for the next greatest style that works, which is great for people who sell that stuff.
I think, Joe, as someone that's been there, done that, the ad, and this can go into a whole nother tangent and we don't have to, but I think the ad does 25% of it. 75% is the landing page. And I think that's where a lot of what you're saying right now is also true, where you might get someone that says, run this type of ad, or if you take my course and I'll teach you how to run ads the right way. And it's,
Right.
bro, it doesn't matter how good the ad is or what kind of like you could get a great UGC creator, you could get the best copy, the best creative, the best graphic designer. If they get to a page that doesn't sell them, then I always say it's like you're a club promoter
Yeah,
and your landing page is meant to be the bartender that gets them to drink and gets them to have a good time. And they'll leave because I had a good time. They'll leave and come back because I had a good time on your website.
that's the key. And even like you mentioned too, you could have a banger, an ad, you get someone in, and the offer doesn't even align with the ad structure. The pricing's way off, or that's just for a whole nother episode of like for creation that goes best for meta ads. Maybe we can talk about that next. And people think, I want to run ads to like a $2,000 product to a cold audience. Are you out of your mind? Are they aware of? I can understand if there's like fanboys who have like, and they've actively purchased stuff from you, and that's like part of people you're targeting. I could somehow see that working. But no, cold, no way. And just the right funnel structure to get them in and nurtured and where they're at in a customer journey phase. Again, a whole nother area of topic, right? But no, I agree. What's working? Good creative is working, right? And constant
Mhm.
testing of new creative is working. So talk about, you talked a little bit earlier about how anyone can kind of get in and with Andromeda and maybe what's next and how someone could get started. And we've done this a number of times at high scale monthly ad spend for
Yeah.
loads of different ad sets and campaigns, et cetera, just for one client, let alone a whole group of them. If someone's a brick and mortar store or even a small CPG company or anything like that just wants to get started and see results that month, too, with the new updates, what do you suggest as be that first 30-day plan?
Yeah. If let's say that it's hard to think about the small companies because again, this could be a whole nother tangent. But Joe, you and I usually go into those. When you think about a small business, right? A small business owner, you know that whatever dollars they're putting into this platform is essentially taking money away from their family, and they're betting on the fact that this could work.
Exactly.
That's always the
There's
hardest part
huge
about
scare
working.
factor, huge.
Huge. That's the hardest part about working for a small business or even being a small business looking to run their own ads. And so, if they had their first 30 days, I would honestly say, look, don't even look at hiring an agency. Don't do that because they're going to take a percentage of your ad spend, and when they don't get your results, SOL. And we don't want
Right.
that. You're probably going to want to say, you're running ads because you're already somewhat semi successful in whatever you're doing. You're doing it organically, and it's probably because you've had a great impact on your community, or you just have good word of mouth and people come to you. Understand why people come to you,
That's
because
right.
that will become your messaging. Before anything else, before you think of budgets of creative or should I hire some social media manager, write that down. Every single time, go look at your Google business reviews and say, what do they actually care about? And it might be your customer service, which is honestly 5 out of 5. If they love you because of you, then other people will probably do the same thing. They'll have a great experience being a part of your little business ecosystem. And
Mhm.
so write that down. That's your messaging. What's your top 3, 5 most selling services or products? Whatever that is what you're going to promote. So understand why people love you, understand what people have loved from you, and bring that all together into a nice packaged brand, right? Because that is how you're going to speak to your audience. Once you do that, you have to determine, okay, if I have a product and it ranges from 20, maybe it's product A, $20, product B, $30, product C is $50, and that's usually what people end up buying when they really love your product. You have to think, how much am I willing to spend to get that customer in the first time? So
Right.
let's say that $20 product is probably what they're going to go after. 1x ROAS. That means you're going to do a great job at following up with them, because it's not just a 1x ROAS. Let's say your $20 product, was able to get you that purchase for $20. That doesn't take into consideration your total cost per good sold.
Right.
So that's the man hours in your brick and mortar. That is what it took to produce that item, or whether you bought it from China and you imported it, whatever it was. Like, that's not a
Sure.
1x. You're probably in the negative now. And so you have to think, because there's products out there that do this and they do this very well. They'll be on a 1x, but they follow up so well via email. They continue to give you the offers, they follow up, and before you know it, like, the lifetime value is what's there. So you have to determine, what kind of business are you? Are
Sure.
you are you someone that can get that lifetime value of a customer to 5x within the year? Or are you hoping that, or is this a product that's just like a one and out
I'll
because you
I'll even
fix?
I'll add this
Mhm.
layer to it too. It gets me thinking, even more important than all of that, have you sold any of this before? Is this something the market even wants? Do
Yeah.
people have I got this idea, guilty as charged, man. The amount of things I got from drop shipping and Alibaba and whatnot on Shopify back in the day during COVID, honestly. I can't tell you how many different side businesses I started and was tinkering with and was selling stuff. I'm like, okay, this could be cool for the market. All right, awesome. And before I even had one sale, I was just doing tons of ads in it. And yeah, you get some sales in there, whatnot. But or do people even want this right now? And many times, is the funnel working? Are people actually buying this? Is this a good deal? Is it priced right? And if it works organic, it'll work great with paid campaign behind it. I always feel like there's a few exceptions here and there, but if it's selling organically, if you ask friends and family, would you buy this? And they do, yeah, I'll support. If they're like, you'd be pumping all that money, and exactly,
Oh.
it's like there's no wonder the fear is there. She's like, well, will anyone buy this? If you don't think your own friends and family would buy it, why would you put ad spend behind it?
Yeah, you'd almost have to be so sure that people can become obsessed with your brand. And that's why you want to hope that people are already obsessed with your brand now, right? That you have that following, that you have that social proof. Because look, the best thing that you can do is start running ads towards the audience that you already have, right? You probably already have a list of your customers that have bought from you organically. Create a lookalike audience on Meta, target your existing audience and see if you can get them to buy again. And that's how you start off, right? People start seeing these ads, they have likes, they have comments that are saying, like, yes, I love Miss Vicky's chips. Like, I keep buying more and more. And it's okay. Now, the first time that ad goes towards someone that's cold, they'll see the social proof and say, maybe I'll try Miss Vicky's chips too.
Sure.
And the game can be so difficult. If you're selling digital products or if you're selling physical items or you're selling services, right? If you're a plumber, the game is there, but you just have to be willing to understand how much am I willing to pay to acquire that customer and what am I going to do afterwards
After the click.
after the click.
That's a huge thing, man. Yeah, in a world where there's so much opportunity to get attention, every quarter there's more and more opportunity. The digital opportunities are through the roof, and to do it without AI slop, attention to drive curiosity, to drive what's next, and then just get them to the next component of it. I fully hear that. So yeah, more creative, thinking outside the box with creative. What has done and getting even the little guy opportunities out there. To go back to the question I asked too, I was always the number in my head was if you can do 15 bucks a day to ad spend on Meta, that'll get you going at a very low rate to just get something out there. Depends on who it is who you're competing against, right? If you're trying to compete against the big SaaS dogs. Do you agree with that? Disagree with that? Is it circumstantial? What do you think?
I think sadly $15 a day doesn't cut it anymore.
Okay.
And that's because Meta needs signals in order to make your ads perform, right? And those signals at the end of the day are purchases, if that's what you're running, right? Conversions. So whether it's lead generation or you're actually selling a service or a product or a digital product, whatever it is, you need Meta to give you those signals. And if you don't get enough of them within the learning phase, that campaign is going to die. It's just never going to perform the way it's supposed to. And so if your budget is $15 a day, you must be selling like 50-cent products. And that's sad, right? That's sad to think about. But if you're selling $50 products or even $20 products at $15 a day, you might get a purchase like once a day. And Meta probably needs, I think it's about 40, I think it's like a 40 purchases to actually start to understand what you have going on. And if you don't hit that, then
The
that
longer it takes to
campaign
get
is,
that,
well, the learning phase ends and you never gave it enough.
sure.
And so it didn't get enough learnings and that campaign is forever going to be just like there. And it's is that really how you run a good meta campaign? No. Honestly, if someone asked me like can I run meta ads with $15? I'm like, yes, you can, but you shouldn't.
That's fair. That's fair. So in a world where someone maybe has a digital product that's, let's just say $97. There's a lot of people out there that want to sell something for $97, whether it be a course or who knows what it is, right? And what would your suggestion be for, now I know it depends, a daily ad spend, at least to get started at, like maybe a range. Like, all right, if you want to start selling something of this price right here in a mildly competitive area, what do you think? What would be expectations?
I would say that you would at least want to have double to triple the budget of your cost per acquisition, like what you're comfortable with, like your cost per acquisition being. So if you have a $97 product and let's say you're hoping to get like a 2x, right? A 2x ROAS, you should at least try to run a $100 to $150 budget. That's, I think, is going to give you enough legs to understand within those first 7 days is my product something that is actually going to sell, right? Because and this is going to go back to the other tangent that we were going into, but you need to get that traffic in to see if your landing page is actually good, right? Or your funnel or whatever you have going on. And so if you're not getting the traffic in, if you're not getting the sales in, and you're not sending Meta the right signals to say target more people like this, your campaign is just never going to take off. And so whatever your product cost, I would say almost like triple that, and that should be your budget.
Hmm. We should put a calculator together for folks listening in so that way they could
Right.
map it out, right?
That's
I
honestly
have a
what I
bunch of other
think would
talking
be,
points here.
yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? Of e-com, service business creators and course people. I could talk for hours about B2B to B2C stuff or all of those and getting the right people in and even high ticket stuff as well too. One other comment that we had here, let me look at what we had in my notes. Yeah, let's talk about this one right here.
Let me hear it.
This is me just chatting before we get into it. UGC stuff.
Mm.
This is the debate prompt stuff. I'm not sure how much I agree in this. And
I have I have something along the lines of UGC that I think is very hot right now. And I think it goes in the UGC and the clipping world. And I think we can talk about it because I think we were about to dabble into this world in our previous company and we never really went into it. But I think there's a huge opportunity that a lot of business aren't currently taking advantage of, which is, so have you heard of the company named Cluely? Okay. So Cluely, when they first came out, their whole thing was you can cheat in life. Sounds pretty crazy. And this
Sure.
isn't a hook or anything. This is their legit product where, there's some really hard jobs out there like in the tech space where if you're a coder or software engineer, you have an interview like this and your computer's being tracked and they're expecting you to just know stuff on the dome. What Cluely did, it was this company that would essentially allow you to have something that was untraceable, and as the interviewer would talk, they Cluely would decipher everything and provide you with the answers on screen, right? So imagine I had a teleprompter here, and for
Yeah.
every question that you asked me, I was correct. And so they came out with this, and then they started opening it up, right? To where it's like you can cheat on a date. And I don't mean by cheating on your
Right, right,
on the
right.
person you're dating, but it's more if that person just has questions that you don't have interesting answers for, Cluely will help you. And so it just
Interesting.
became this hack of being able to cheat through life. And before they got mega successful on socials, I think what ended up really working for them was that they had a really good clipping strategy and a really good UGC strategy. And that's where I think this is going to compete with ads. That it's because you can go two routes. You can go, I'm going to invest maybe $5,000 in ads a month, or I'm going to invest $5,000 a month in clipping and UGC creators. And so now there's companies out there that you can put that $5,000 towards, and you're paying creators to get views for you, right? So let's say, Joe, you and I, we have a really awesome digital product, and we can't get people to talk about our product because we're one of many, but we know that ours is better and we just need to get the word out there. So we go to one of these websites that offer UGC creators on demand. And for every 1,000 views that they get, we pay them $1. And so I believe this is what Cluely did to blow up, where they essentially, if you go look through Instagram or TikTok, you will see Cluely and a whole bunch of different ad handles that were created by other people. And they just started pushing Cluely everywhere. It became viral, but they paid for it. They were paying people to just create content about the product. And instead of running ads, they were making it feel organic. And so when it came through your feed, you were like, oh, Bobby is showing how he cheated through XYZ. And now I want to try it too. I'm going to go sign up. And it's so that Litzy, so that Samantha, so that Daniel. And now it's all over the place. And I think that's where UGC is heading to next, where it's like, why go on Fiverr to get someone to create a UGC video and then run the ad and try to do it yourself when you can just put these bounties on like for UGC creators to get as many views as possible. And they're incentivized to create the best content because if they get more views, they get paid more.
I get it. I agree with that. This has me thinking too of what type of objection handling, if you will, are they talking about in these videos? And in that example that you just see is this is like unintentionally, they're like, this is a result you can have, the life you can have. And in other times, a lot of people talk about but you could be avoiding this problem by doing this. And I think where a lot of content is going now is not so much very minimal. I mean, it depends on what it is, of course, right? Very minimal of you can avoid ABC, but more so just the dream outcome. An example I've heard of this recently was if I'm selling toothpaste, right? If I was doing a UGC video and let's go with, okay, you know those viral toothbrush thingies that like you stick in your mouth and like shakes and
And it
does this
flows.
thing? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of want one. Imagine if I'm watching someone do that and they're like, this thing works, and the video is showing it and they're using it and they're talking about the result. And one angle could be, I have a 50% less chance of getting these cavities in place. My breath is 50% less stinky, like that kind of route versus why do
Yeah.
people brush their teeth? Is it because they don't want cavities or is it because they want white teeth?
I think most people want white teeth, even though they don't say it,
So it's like that.
right?
It's the dream outcome. The dream outcome. No one, it's like, hey, I have no cavities. Who cares? Your teeth are brown. Good for you, right? But if it's like, if someone's walking around with white teeth and that all of them are cavities, I'm willing to bet someone would take a mouthful of cavities that are all white versus teeth that are all brown.
True. Honestly, like if Listerine wanted to run a campaign, like putting this guy that was maybe semi ugly, but because he had white teeth, all the women were attracted to him.
That's
You'd
right.
be like, yeah, it's the white teeth that gets someone to
That's
say,
what does it.
I care about my teeth health. Secondary is almost the cavities. And it sounds crazy to say, but that is the truth.
Yeah, what people think of you and your persona and what you've been able to achieve, whatever it is, right?
It's who you
Um,
desire to be. And it's a
correct.
person with white teeth.
So they if like this what was the app that you called it again? Cluely, right?
Cluely.
And let's just say there's a UGC example of it and some guy was using it and I don't know, he was talking to a chick or something and then failed. And then they're like, that's UGC. It's not going to get me to buy the app. No way.
No.
I'd only want to see this guy's got, in this example, he's like got 20 women around him or something like that, right? Wow. I could have that result. Clearly, it's
Yeah.
exaggerated, right? But what is the dream outcome? Show them the dream outcome, what it could be, and what it could feel like for that dream outcome versus features, benefits stuff, if you will.
Yes. And I think we might get into this conversation a bit later, but I think that's where TikTok Shop is also heading. And I think the example that you were given is so perfect because I see it every single time. There are these like whitening strips they go in purple. And so your entire mouth like is purple. And when you take them
Oh,
off,
yeah.
your teeth are super white. And these people are incentivized to create good UD content because they have the TikTok shop in the bottom, like the little orange button. And if you click on that, then they get a commission. And I think that's where, if I was a brand, instead of running ads on TikTok, I would try my hardest to have a TikTok shop that creators can come into and make a commission off because that is so much easier than trying to bust my head open and figure out how to target the right people for my whitening strips.
Oh, I'm on the same page. I all these companies are like, "What is your paid user acquisition strategy?" Yada yada. I'm like, I'd rather talk about my organic. I'd rather go through these other avenues as opposed to just throwing it out. And yeah, there's data to guess and whatnot, but you're right. You could get way more data information and proven out through the organic side. If it works for that, then you put fuel on it. But my gosh, it crushes it that way. So let's look at my other talking points here and what we had. A research of this. I forget how long we were talking on the other one before it
On
cut.
the what creative actually works right now?
No, before we got back into this session, before my internet blew up.
We were talking about
How long?
we spoke for honestly almost about 20 minutes.
Okay. So I could probably get into some of the end stuff here as like kind
Yeah.
of wrapping it up and whatnot. That went by quick.
It went super quick.
Like super fast, dude. Let's see here.
It's good to have opinions. I think that's what
Yeah.
makes it go by super quick.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll add this piece in here when it comes to like the UGC stuff. And there are so many times where I see an ad and I know it's fake. I know it's fake, but it's still my mind. It's like fighting what I know is fake to be like one of these certain whatever or something like that. Perfect example. If someone's trying to sell me, even if it's a $17 script or something like that, let's just say this AI script is doing this and this prompt is killing it with Claude or something like that. If it's just some schmuck like in his regular office, right? And like I get it, some people put up the old like wire AirPod
Like
things or
AirPod.
Air, yeah, right. Get it right. If there's some dude getting in a Lamborghini and there's like palm trees and like a mansion behind him, right? Now it gets real fake when there's like the fake Amazon cash in is which one call it like that some people have, right? Just that alone, like still my brain's no, don't dive into it. He's fake. No,
Mm-mm.
but it could be real. But is it real or is it fake? I start to like second guess myself. I'm like, let me just buy it to see. And guess how many people do the exact same thing? A lot.
A lot. I think that's a whole other rabbit hole that we can get into. And I think when you have a very strong personal brand, if you are that person, it makes a lot of sense. And I think the person that kicked us all off, and I think I always like all roads lead back to Iman Gotzi. He was the first person to say, maybe not the first, but definitely the first one from my generation that did it right, where he was like, this luxury lifestyle is going to bring in all the sales I ever want in the world. And it has. so far that it got him to the point that he is today, because he could say, "Hey guys, I just released blank, and for $3,000 you can get in, be part of my mastermind, and you're going to learn how to make $500,000 this year." And you are like, "Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's Iman that's telling me this. I wouldn't doubt it." It's like you already painted that picture. And I think for a very long time, like probably before he was considered a scammer, like Ty Lopez did that, right? It was a whole meme with the Lamborghini in the
Yeah,
garage and
the
the
Airbnb
library,
houses and
right?
everything.
Where it's I think you could still play that, and nowadays people call it LARPing, like you're LARPing as a
Yeah.
successful entrepreneur, and some people might buy it. But if you're just a genuine dude, then I think and people start following you for who you are, I think you're gonna end up being fairly successful. And I think there's even a world for that scrappy guy that's just like talking to his microphone where it's like, all I do is talk to Claude all day. Like I figured it out. You're almost like, "Bro, I guess I almost want you to look like you don't leave your room."
Yeah, exactly. And that's funny we talk about this when I talk with other leaders and leadership courses and training and stuff like this. And recent thing I was discussing was telling a story. First thing that comes to my mind in this stuff right here, you got Iman, right? He's like immigrant, no father in his life. He's got 5 different stories. Who knows what's real, right? The one that makes people more emotional, obviously. I don't know which one's real, but it's like he came over and he came to America and did this, and there was no one to help him, and he believed in himself and doubled down, and look where he's at now. Like that, oh, if he could do it, I can do it. And then there's so many other perspectives and different privilege mindsets, right? This person wasn't able to have a chance and was shut down and did this and this, or their family crossed the border, they swam across an ocean. I don't know. I can make up a million different things, right? And from my lens, I look at that and I'm like, my many times I've looked, well, my story is I grew up in Pennsylvania. Like there's just not, how bad it's not as bad as these other ones. And then my leadership coach told me, he goes, look, maybe growing up, you haven't come across an ocean, right? Or hopped a border or had no father in your life. And like, maybe you didn't have that, but you crossed a very difficult river in your own way, in your own story. And maybe it's not just that, it's your own way to do it. So what that really made me think about too is in all of these personal brands that have killed it, what got them to that point? And I'm such a strong believer in the hero's journey of I was here. It was really crappy. I felt like rock bottom, didn't know how to get out. Either someone helped me or I listened to this and I really climbed up and now I'm here and I want to help others do the same, etc. And now you got people like Iman who like all of his money isn't made on what he's good at doing. It's selling the process of what he says he's good at doing. That's
Yeah.
where all the money comes in. Now, I can't knock it because dude's got a badass place in Dubai and I don't. Like how and I don't think either of us want to scam people or rip them off with that stuff. Yeah, the story behind it, like how deep can you and this can be a whole another we're just creating a bunch of other topics for next pieces.
Yeah.
How can you create that? I don't want to say woe is me story, but like I think where a lot of people can resonate. Wow, this is interesting how they came from here to here to here and look at them now. And I want to bypass all that to shortcut. Everyone wants a shortcut, right? I want to get what they did, but faster, which ultimately works. Everyone has their story. If that story is told properly and you're not scared to tell that story and you're not too vulnerable about it, when people want to open up and do you look at Hormozy, look at all these other guys. They're like, you know how difficult it is for an entrepreneur to say I was almost bankrupt? The pride, it almost won't let you say it.
I think you have to get rich first before you say that.
Or you could say, I've fallen so far, blah, blah, blah. This took me out. I'm going to build the next biggest, whatever AI SaaS company. Day 6 of growing it to try and hit 100,000 MRR. Follow my journey. I'd be interested.
That's the
Like,
story. And
I
honestly,
saw this person go from rock bottom to the top. Like, I witnessed it. People love that.
and I think if we could wrap this all up to where it comes
Yes,
back to the original topic, it's that's how the best ads are made. The
totally.
best ads tell a story. And honestly, sometimes it can just be a still image that says that entire arc. Imagine it however you want, right? But it can be before, after, headline,
Mhm,
arrow to a product or a
mhm.
service or something that changed it. And that's it. But it's because you had that story and it's real. And I think you go back, if you see an ad where it almost feels fake, there's a part of you that wants to believe it because we're all dreamers at the end of the day. We all hope for that one solution, but someone that has a genuine story and they've done the organic play, then they're doing the paid play and they're continuing to build on that. It's almost like you're world building for an audience that's willing to buy from you. and they just want to replicate that same universe that you're in their own universe.
That makes perfect sense. For you listening out there, maybe you're a marketing person for a company and you help companies run ads. Maybe you're learning more about ads. Maybe you're just like marketing stuff. Maybe you're a business personal brand. Who knows what, right? I think a big takeaway is write down, why did you start doing what you do? Or why did that company you're helping start doing what they do? What made them special? What is the back end story of it? How can you use that story? Brainstorm great creative, more and more creative to tell that story, out thinking outside the box and just get it in front of eyeballs. Test it. Drive
That's
those
it.
hooks. That's it.
That's the
So
way, Joe.
I think one of the next conversations we'll have, geez, it could be one of 100 different topics, but maybe we can talk about, again, this is after the click from there, of what the funnels look like and converting people from there with a bunch of examples. So that'd be really sweet. I
I
think that'd
love
be
talking landing pages.
me too, man. Me too. We're both the funnel men. Josh, it's always been a pleasure, man. We could probably do this for 6 more hours, but to everyone else listening, appreciate your time and look forward to catching you on the next one. We dive a little bit
Th-
deeper. If you got any questions, throw them in the comments. We'll respond to you right away.
This was episode 1 of After the
Episode
Click.
one. Episode one of who knows how many, right? I love it. All right. Thank you all. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.